to make a homemade solar panel. This is the first in 3 videos of a solar DIY project. Everything you should know to build a 100-watt solar panel at home. In order to charge a 12-volt battery with solar energy, a solar panel with 18 volts is required. So, to build a solar panel capable of charging a 12-volt battery, you will need 2 mm of tapping wire and another of 5 mm. Solder wire is a must-have. A flux pen. Strapping tape, also known as short tape. Regular tape. A solder iron, between 60 and 80 watts.
I'll scout ahead.
A multimeter, one that can measure both voltage and current. Silicone paste, preferably crystalline with UV protection. Epoxy resin, the best and easy way to do it yourself to encapsulate the back of a solar panel. This epoxy resins have excellent adhesion to glass and acrylic plastic. And epoxy hardener. Here the measure is 2:1 ratio. And of course, last but not least, the solar cells. Here is up to you. You can purchase pre-tab solar cells. They have tabbing wire already attached. It will cost a bit more but will save you a lot of time and work. In video description below you find links to everything you need to start building your solar panel. Let's get started. The first step we have to take is to measure the length of the tabbing wire between 2 cells. Grab 2 cells and join them close to each other like this. 2 or 3 mm between them is enough. With one cell face up is the negative side and face down is the positive side. Measure the length of the tab wire along both cells. The job here now is to measure and cut the tabbing wire for all 36 cells for your solar panel. To make this task less tedious, cut the tabbing wire to one row of 9 cells at a time. And after that you can start soldering the tabbing wire on the negative side of each cell. To do this, first pass along each conduct line the flux pen. This will prevent beading of the solder iron and also helps the solder flow cleanly. Position the tab wire on the cell and start soldering from top to bottom in a continuous movement. Soldering is not so hard, you get it right very fast, but get prepared for a couple hours of work. So, this type of 6x6 polycrystalline cells usually has 3 connecting bus lines. We have to weld 36 cells on the negative side first, where next it must be welded on the positive side, that is the back of each cell, creating a string of 18 volts, the needed current to charge a 12 volts battery.
Shut down.
One of the best and strongest materials to use in a solar panel is tempered glass. 3 mm are more than enough for strength and durability, being also the ideal surface to start soldering your solar cells. Start by giving a good clean. Now with a clean surface we can start put things together, but first let's again see how a solar panel works. The first cell in this row is the negative side of the solar panel that will be welded to the negative bus wire, pertaining this way the negative pole of the solar panel, and continuing with the next 3 strings of cells, all welded together from front to back of each other, making this way a total of 36 cells of 18 volts. Another thing to note is that solar cells are very fragile. For this reason, and almost guarantee you will break 1 or more cells. Even if it is a very small crack, you can use regular tape and repair it easily. Now that you know how a solar panel works, it's time to connect all cells together. To make this task much easier, here are some tips you can use to do this correctly. It is convenient to use a type of tweezers or even a weight to hold the wire in the correct place to weld. Here I am using a scissor, which works very well.
An enemy
Another useful tip is to use normal tape to hold the cells in place. In this way they remain aligned, helping you to weld more easily and quickly. And if the tabbing wire is a bit long, simply cut off the loose ends when you finish the job. With all cells tabbed together, it's time to clean again the glass surface. With the glass clean, it's time to position and secure the cells in place. By measuring the string of cells closest to the edge of the glass, we find the margin on all sides of the panel. Then, with all cells in place, we need to keep each string of cells tightly attached to the glass, first with normal tape, and next with short tape. Now pass the short tape from top to bottom between each string of cells, and at the same time it is convenient to double check for any broken cells, even if there is a slight crack, because if there is, the encapsulation will pass through it, and the epoxy resin will eventually yellow over time. Now with all cells secure in place, let's proceed by soldering the string of cells into the bus wire. Start by cutting a 5mm wide tabbing wire to the width size of the two middle cell strings, and secure the bus wire with regular tape. Cut the loose ends of the cell tabbing wire. And you're ready to solder the two middle rows together. Here I will weld the tab wire from the positive side of the cell to the bus wire, which will then weld to the negative side of next string of cells. Easy, as you will see right away.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Now is to do the same for the other two rows of cells on the top of the panel. And then, it ends with its two bus wires, which are the positive and the negative poles.
Shut down.
And after this, with a string of 36 cells connected to the positive and negative bus wire, we have to test if we have a promising solar panel. With the panel facing the sun, measure the voltage with a multimeter and make sure that it produces at least more than 18 volts. Here I tested on a spring morning. Keep in mind that solar panels always lose tension in the hottest hours. Depending your region, you should get about 18.6 volts during the peak sun hours. Now back to the office, we're going to proceed by soldering two copper wires to the poles of the panel. Here you can choose to use the 5mm bus wire to also to be connected to the junction box in the bottom middle of the panel. But I choose a pair of copper wires, does the same job. And I am not using a bypass diode. This because I will use a PWM charge controller to protect the solar panel and the battery from overcharging and reverse current respectively. Continue by preparing the solar panel for the encapsulation. The first step we need to do is by placing the silicone on the edges of the glass. This will prevent the resin from spreading out of the panel. Epoxy resin is one of the best ways to keep solar cells from a homemade solar panel away from moisture. For a panel of this size you will need about 40 ounces. About 3 pounds or 1 kilogram is enough. It's not cheap, but it is the best choice over the EVA film to encapsulate a solar panel made at home. To know where to get this type of clear epoxy resin, follow the links in video description below. And of course epoxy hardener. Here the blend should be 2 times epoxy resin for 1 hardener. And mix these 2 compounds in a plastic container and mix it slowly, mainly to avoid getting air into the mixture. After about 2 minutes mixing the resin with the hardener, mix it again in another container to obtain a faster and stronger curing finish. This second mixture must be made to obtain a perfect and well-cured resin. What we have to do is to pour the mixture on the back of the panel. To do this, simply pour the epoxy resin from top to bottom in a constant movement. And after 12 hours you will have an encapsulated solar panel. Now is time to make the panel frame. Get 3 L-shaped aluminum profiles, 2 meters long and at least 3 millimeters thick. You can also go with wood. It all depends on your budget and how much you want to spend with your panel. This part can be done at the beginning. Knowing the size of the glass the panel frame can be made, and then, with the glass attached on the panel frame with silicone, proceed with the welding of the cells and the bus wires, until finally the encapsulation is made. But always put the silicone in the edges of the glass before doing the encapsulation. Now I'll leave you with the images on how to make the frame for your panel. Measuring the length of each side of the glass. Mark each profile with a marker. Leave at least 2 millimeters of cutting edge.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Next, to cut the profiles you can use a cutter holder with a 90 degrees angle, but it is best to use a miter saw.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Enemy has slain an enemy.
An angular ruler can also be used to check the cutting angle. It is also useful to keep the profiles in place during assembly. And the best thing to attach the glass and frame together is to use stainless steel brackets and screws. For this panel I used 12 brackets, 8 to support the glass and 4 to join the profiles. Position the brackets in place, mark and drill the holes.